The Secrets of Middle-earth is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit GiveStarQuest.com.
Well, thief, I smell you. I hear your breath. I feel your air. Where are you? Where are you? Come on now. Don't be shy. Step into the light. There is something about you. Something you carry. Something made of gold, but far more precious. There you are, thief in the shadows.
You're listening to The Secrets of Middle-earth, where we discuss the hidden themes and deeper layers found in the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, whether in his writings or in any of the media derived from them. I'm Jeff Haecker, and joining me today are Patrick Mason. Hey, Pat.
Howdy, Jeff.
And Rob Leonardi. Hey, Rob.
Hey, Jeff.
And welcoming Kathryn Laffrey. Hey, Kathryn.
Hey, Jeff.
All right, so today we are discussing the second film in the Hobbit trilogy, The Desolation of Smaug, and are prepared to earn a dragon's hoard of gold due to the contractual references that will be made. All right. So
this should cover us for like a year.
Probably
At least. At least. That way there's no shoehorned references, no last minute references. It just all takes it right now.
Yeah. All right. So I'll give our plot summary first, and then we will discuss. So the film picks up where the last one left off, where Thorin's company continues to run from Azog and his warg riders. Gandalf leads them to the home of Beorn, where they seek refuge before going into Mirkwood on the way to the Lonely Mountain. Gandalf departs, recognizing signs of Sauron's return. The company, aside from Bilbo, are captured by spiders, but Bilbo rescues them. The spiders are killed by Legolas and Tauriel, the new elf maiden, and the dwarves are brought to Thranduil, the elf king. Thranduil wants them to return a lost item from Erebor, but Thorin refuses because the elves failed to help them against Smaug in the past. Killy begins to be attracted to the elf Tauriel, Ching Ching, first reference. Bilbo frees the dwarves, and they escape the elven realm through wine barrels floating down the river. The elves pursue them, but the orcs appear, and Legolas barrel jumps across the floating dwarves to fight them, and Killy gets shot with a poisoned arrow. A captured orc tells Thranduil of an orc army massing, and Tauriel goes after the dwarves to warn them and unite with her lost love. Second check. And Legolas follows her. The dwarves reach the lake by Erebor and meet Bard, who agrees to smuggle them to Lake Town. When they reach the shores, he tries to hide them, but the master of Lake Town is warned by his servant Alfred. Bard realizes who Thorin is and tries to warn the master, but the promise of riches to Lake Town when Erebor is restored is too tempting, and they agree to supply the dwarves in return for wealth from the mountain. Meanwhile, Gandalf travels to Dol Guldur, learning that the necromancer is Sauron. He meets King Thror, thought to be dead, but Gandalf is captured, and we will have to wait for Action, Elrond, Galadriel, and Saruman to save him. Killy, Filly, and Bofur remain in Lake Town while the rest of the dwarves and Bilbo make their way to Erebor. Bilbo sneaks into the mountain, but Smaug awakes. The orcs attack Lake Town but leave when Thorin is not there, and Killy is healed by Tauriel's elvish medicine, third check, when she and Legolas arrive. The dwarves try to fight Smaug, but despite their efforts, the dragon flies from the mountain toward Lake Town, and no desolation yet. All right, so Kathryn, I'll start with you. What are your impressions of the movie, and do you have any memories of seeing it, since this one's more recent than the Lord of the Rings trilogy from 2 decades ago now?
I think I took my daughters to go see this one all together. They're all grown up now, but yeah, I mean, it was fun to see their reaction to a certain relationship. I mean, two of them are big time Tolkien readers. One of them just loves a good movie. And all of them were like, what was the point of that?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little odd, but yeah, they thought it was just kind of awkward, although they did like the way that Philly and Killy were portrayed, being the younger, cute ones. So, but yeah, for me, it's the visuals. I have loved in all of Peter Jackson's films for Lord of the Rings and Hobbit. All the art that goes into this is amazing.
Awesome. And what about you, Rob?
I don't remember seeing this before, like when I first saw it, I should say. Not seeing this before. I tried to block it out. No. I don't remember when I first saw this. I can't put my finger on it. But I do remember like really enjoying the movie. Being able to just continue on the Hobbit movies, because those were what I read. I read the books last. So enjoying the movies themselves, I thought it was really, really well done, and I really enjoyed it. After reading the books, then it's like, well,
now
okay.
the problem.
But for what it is, and to summarize all of the complaints I had in the first movie, you can go back and listen to that. But bringing everything from the first movie into the second movie, it's like, okay, well, they established something and they have to now bring it to fulfillment a little bit. And I understand it. I don't like some of it, but overall, I think it's a great movie.
Awesome. What about you, Pat?
It's a very different movie from the books. Like, it's a very different portrayal of the events that lead the party from the saving by the Eagles to the Lonely Mountain. And, it hits the keystone points along the way, but a lot of the stuff is so very different that it's almost, it's not quite a standalone work, but it almost feels like it in a lot of ways. And if you take it from that perspective, and you allow yourself to make fun of it as you go through, then it's a lot of fun. It's a very enjoyable movie. There was a lot of me and my children riffing on the movie as we went through it. Like we literally did the Super Mario theme as the barrels went down the water and legless, do, because there was a lot of side-scrolling physics going on there. And so it could be a lot of fun, right? But I think it's best taken in kind of the same way we've decided to take Rings of Power. It's fan fiction. it's not quite not like the original Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies, which were supposed to be the telling of the Lord of the Rings. This was kind of, what if I took The Hobbit and embellished on it pretty massively? And that's what you get. And then stick a couple things in there that don't quite work, and one storyline that makes absolutely no sense. Cha-ching. It's not even so like bad in the flames across my face kind of way. It's the bad in the like afterwards you're like, what? Why? What? Why was that? But why? Kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I'll say overall, I mean, I do like these movies. I did actually purchase them. They were on like years ago on Amazon Prime. They were on like $7 for the extended editions to buy the digital version. So I do own them. I spent money to see them in the theater, and I spent money to purchase them. So, I think I've made my money back though with the contractual references though. But the first one I think is probably still the best of the trilogy because it's the most faithful, and it really does feel the most, I think, Tolkien and most like the original Lord of the Rings trilogy movies. this one and the next one, we've discussed, they basically have turned what could have been two good movies into 3. So if you cut out a lot of this and a lot of the next one, you'd have a pretty good, 3-hour movie between the two of them, and 6-hour total with the first Hobbit movie. Some of the sequences in this that we'll talk about are really good. I think most of the Elf King or the Mirkwood stuff is good. The mountain stuff, the Erebor and Smaug stuff is all really good. It's just the Lake Town and some of the other stuff that was added, really you can tell it was kind of added for padding. And I think that's been pretty well discussed, that, the studio wanted to make more money. So they wanted to make another movie. And so they had to figure out things to add. And, we can discuss why that doesn't work so well. But even some of the stuff they added, I thought Gandalf's mission was actually a pretty interesting addition, compared to, some of the other additions. But
I think that one actually made most logical sense, considering that it was alluded to in the Lord of the Rings books themselves.
Yeah, and even the Hobbit book, it talks about how, from what I remember, it's been a while since I've read the book. I'm in the process of reading, but I haven't gotten very far yet. But yeah, he talks about how he had his own mission, and that was to go see what's going on in Dol Guldur. And I like that at least this movie, I like what they do there. I don't necessarily like what they do in the next movie with that plot line, but
yeah, I think you're right. I think the addition of the Dol Guldur portion worked real well in the last one and in this one. That was a very interesting take on Thrain. It's kind of this madman living in the mazes underneath Dol Guldur. But it gives you the show don't tell visual, right, of what Gandalf experiences when he meets him. What I think the one portion of the quest I wasn't a fan of was the trek to the what were they? The tombs in the northern, and because that's whole cloth, right? They sort of, the Witch King was never buried. he didn't have a body when he was the Witch King. He was already a wraith at that point. And so the whole concept of him having a tomb, and the whole, all the 9 having tombs in the north and them having escaped those, it was an interesting contrivance, but it was a full-blown contrivance. It was a hard departure from the books. And I'm not sold on it. It's just because it doesn't fit with the lore very well. I think there's probably something else they could have had Gandalf do. I'm not entirely certain why they decided to go with that line in particular. But Gandalf in Dol Guldur was a pretty... I really enjoyed those sequences. I enjoyed the sequences with Sauron. When he's talking to... what's his name? The giant white orc.
Azog,
yeah. And he's just this shadow that sort of moves around the ruins around Azog and just sort of pronounces. And I love the line, Azog is demanding that he still gets to kill Thorin. And Sauron's response is, death takes everyone, or death, and he just leaves. I mean, it's like, he's got to die someday. Deal with it.
Yeah, and so I like the initial setup in the movie of Gandalf having to go off on his own, because it is true to the book that he has to depart the company. And in the book, at least, you see him at the very end. I don't remember if he shows up at Erebor, if he meets up with Bilbo later. I forget from the book, but
they do in the third movie have him come back.
Okay, yeah, it's been a while since I've watched, so but yeah, so that part is true, but yeah, the addition here, which I think it was good. If you're going to have Gandalf in this, if you're going to bring Ian McKellen back, like put him to put him to work, but like
work. Yeah, no, you're right.
Make
just like they're going to do for the Hunt of Forgotten.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But like make use of when you have Ian McKellen, like you use him to the best as much as you can. So I think it was good that they added him in there. But yeah, the Mirkwood.
Just for contrast, today I watched the cartoon, Just could go from watching the extended edition over 3 hours and then the cartoon version, which felt like a snap. It was funny because then you have so many times where like, where's that wizard in the cartoon? He just like disappears and then he's back and he disappears. So now it's like, oh, that's where he went. I don't know. It was just fun to have the contrast in there.
Yeah, but what did y'all think of the portrayal of, I guess just to kind of go somewhat chronologically, what did y'all think of the portrayal of Beorn in this movie? Because Beorn's an interesting character, and I think I don't remember if we see other skin changers or if they're referenced in Lord of the Rings or anything, but he says he's the last of his kind, I think.
Yeah. And he ends up coming back to help with the Battle of the Five Armies too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
I was trying to remember if they was in the Silmarillion at all. But
yeah, I don't remember.
They're talked about in the Lord of the Rings. They
Okay.
talk about God, I want to say it's in the Two Towers. Gandalf mentions the Beornings being under siege or having to
Okay.
fight. Like the orcs have retaken Dol Guldur as a stronghold, and now they're
Okay.
fighting the Beornings. Like there's Beorn's got his whole people.
right.
Yeah, but what did y'all think of that scene with because that is fairly true to the books from what I remember of meeting Beorn and the dwarves, being brought out, group by group to meet him because he hates them initially.
So, same problem I had in the first movie where I felt like Peter Jackson got rid of some of the wit in the books, or in the book rather, for slapstick comedy, and I don't like that very much. Like the wit is there for a reason. The wit is funny. And yeah, they were supposed to come out 2 by 2s, but it was very much of a longer transition. They didn't all just end up half of them coming out at once, and it was very much they did it pretty well, but and I can understand for time length, and you don't want to draw it out too much, but in the book it was hilarious. And it was funny in this one too, but not to the same extent. The actual encounter of the entire scene, I thought it was a little different than the books. I'm trying to remember exactly, and I prefer how the book did it. But overall, I think it was actually a pretty good, well done thing, and especially with he's still keeping watch over them all the way to Mirkwood and keeping them protected from the orcs. But in the book, it wasn't so much because they don't have the orcs following them. It was very much of a I want my ponies back.
In the book, didn't Beor put the head of an orc on a shaft as a warning?
Yeah, I think they had him lined up around his house a little bit.
Yeah, because I have the cartoons book edition of The Hobbit, and so they have all the extra sketches from the scenes that didn't make it into the cartoon. And one of them was one of the orc heads on a fence post at Beorn's, and it's like, oh, that was one scene I kind of wanted to see in this movie. That would have been really cool, but I love the visuals in that scene, and getting the extended edition Blu-ray so that I can have the behind the scenes. The amount of artwork that went into his cabin alone, incredible. The tiny little details that you see, you have to freeze frame every now and then just to see the things that are carved into the post. And not only that, but then I think they had to have 3 scales for this because of Beor's size, Gandalf, and then the dwarves. And it was neat to see also which animals looked bigger than others. I don't know why the bees had to be so big, but okay.
Giant bees.
The ponies were cute little ponies, but rideable by hobbits and dwarves. So
yeah, I thought that in the book it does talk about how he has the giant bees, and I think it's just kind of meant to show that these are like he has this special connection with nature and has these special creatures that no one else has. But
Yeah, if I remember, it was supposed to be like this is a different wild area that's untouched by most civilization sort of idea.
Yeah, because it's, they refer to it as Wilderland in the book. And, to me, I thought they got most of the details correct, except for Beorn himself. He was, and I think they got most of his dialogue right from the book, but he comes off a lot more intense and one-dimensional.
Yeah.
I feel like in the books he does have that intensity about him, but he's also kind of, by the end of the introduction of the company and all the people in it, he's laughing, and it's sort of a joking sort of a thing. He's kind of now in on the joke. And there's a lot of brevity to it. He makes fun of Bilbo for being too fat. And that's sort of missing from this portrayal of Beorn. He's just this very intense character. He's very measured words, all said with sort of this ferocity behind him, as if he is sort of half bear at all times. And this, honestly, for me, this was a miss in this. I didn't really like these scenes because of that, because of Beorn's characterization.
Yeah, it almost seemed like he didn't have a choice on when he was going to turn into a bear in the movie, but I'm pretty sure he had that. He could make that choice as his actual character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they go from there into Mirkwood. They get to Mirkwood, and then Gandalf kind of sees the sign of Sauron's, or sees like the artwork of the eye, which I guess Sauron should have put out the memo of like, don't tell people I'm back by, don't make art showing me coming back.
Stop with the graffiti.
Sauron tagging.
Yeah, Sauron tagging. But
trolls.
Yeah, but they arrive and Gandalf departs, and then we go into Mirkwood, and I thought it was a really interesting portrayal of kind of a dark forest and the way it kind of weighs on you mentally and spiritually, not just physically, because if you're going into a dark place and you don't see the sun for a while, which we're in the middle of winter here in most of the United States, some of us just survived an ice storm that shut down our state for a little while. But yeah, it really does kind of weigh on you. So I thought it was an interesting portrayal of them kind of wandering through the forest and kind of starting to see things, and it's playing tricks with their mind, and they start, they just kind of are like, we've gone in circles, we don't know what's going on. But what did y'all think of this sequence in Mirkwood of them kind of going in, and then of course the getting caught by the spiders?
I'm glad in the extended edition they actually showed Bomber falling in the river. Because I missed that when they did it in the movie theaters. Like, wait a minute, somebody's supposed to be sound asleep. And then my favorite scene as a longtime tree climber who always climbs to the top of the tree to stick her hand out the top. Loved that scene where he climbs up and out to see the sun and the butterflies and the lonely mountain in the distance. So very well done. As far as how the spiders went, I don't know. I kind of like a mix of the cartoon and the book better than what we saw here, but it was still really good. I was so glad they did the tiny big detail of their noses sticking out of the spider web.
I did not like the spiders. Not because they're spiders. After reading the book, again, they cut out all of the wit. Because I have to watch everything with captions on because I'm weird. You could the spiders say "Atticop, Atticop, Atticop," and they shouldn't be saying that. If I remember right, that's what Bilbo was calling them to get them frustrated at him, and to taunt them away from the dwarves. And so it was just very much they took a lot of the wit out of Bilbo, and I was kind of sad seeing that. But in terms of the rest of it, it was kind of cool how he was able to put on the ring and understand the spiders, and being able to the one scene of when he lost the ring, and then he just kind of went crazy, and he loses it. He loses it, and it's mine, and things like that. It was very interesting. He just kind of that foreshadowing of what will happen and what could happen, and how power and sin really destructs ourselves, and that temptation always. I think that was really well done. So it has some good parts, has some bad parts. I felt a little bit like the entire sequence was almost like Peter Jackson trying to show someone like going through a drug trip.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. Like
in the full color version, yes. Have you seen that in the making of?
No.
Mirkwood was super Technicolor crazy. They actually had to digitally tone down all the colors there because it did look like a psychedelic trip.
Okay. Yeah. So it was. I feel like he's. Peter Jackson kind of always makes the ring part of the thing of like everybody is addicted to it in some way, and it kind of just everyone's referencing this again in some way with this forest, which all hands down it absolutely has that effect on people, right? You get lost, even like as Jeff was mentioning, in the middle of winter, we're all getting stir crazy here. We all know what it's like being locked in our houses and wanting to get out of these four walls. And so you get it, but at the same time, I'm very confused with that scene, my feelings wise.
Yeah. I thought they did a good job portraying the lost feeling, the sort of drowsiness / inability to really perceive or understand reality that's going on in Mirkwood. And I do get, the Mirkwood portion of The Hobbit takes a while, but the reality of it is that showing it on the screen is you're showing a bunch of people wandering around the woods, not doing much, getting hungry and getting tired. And so how do you portray that on the screen and, make it feel actual to the audience? I thought the way they decided to do it was actually pretty good. I liked that. The reason they get off the path is a little wishy-washy, right? In the books, it's because they're starving and they see some lights and they think it's and they find the woods having a feast, or the elves having a feast in the woods. Not doing that, I think, was problematic because of the whole reason the elves take them prisoner in the first place doesn't make terrible amounts of sense to me. Like where the elves are just jerks, effectively. Like, you're in my woods getting killed by spiders. I'm going to lock you up forever now. I'm like, okay. In the books, they seem to have a little more reasoning behind. I mean, granted, they're more like fairy elves. They're fey elves. They're kind of wishy-washy, and you don't really want to meddle in their affairs, or they'll make you disappear, kind of a thing. Of course,
it's the mafia of elves,
right? And that's it's different sort of elves, because I think the ones we encounter in the Hobbit book are the Tolkien's. They're not quite the elves from the Silmarillion at this point, right? Because
these elves are, I believe, they're the Sindar. They're the ones who did not go see the light of the trees. I think they're so they have not been, they have not been to Aman, like the Noldor and, like Galadriel and all these, other elves that we know, Gil-galad, that would have lived before this. But I mean, I think Galadriel is one of the main ones we know. So that is one of the final Noldor around. So
yeah,
it kind of makes sense that they're not, they're because these elves also get drunk too. They get drunk in the in their party, so they're just a little bit of less noble than than those that have seen the light and of the trees and those. And I mean, the Noldor are kind of the highest highest group of elves anyway, at least the ones in Middle Earth, because they're kind of the most noble house, except for Feanor, but
yeah. Well, yeah. So, and right. And that's, I think that's fairly well put on screen with what we see. As far as the spiders go, it was okay. It always begs my mind, like you could have done the whole thing, right? All of the stuff that Bilbo does with the spiders, you could have put on screen and you say, okay, well, it would have made the time, too long. And then I'm like, well, you could have just cut out like Lake Town. Just cut out the part that doesn't exist in the books, and then you can put it on the screen. So yeah, that's my take on this. But I thought for what they did it well, but they could have actually done what they did in the book. It wouldn't have cost them anything.
Yes.
Okay, 100%. So now that I'm learning that these are less noble elves. I'm sorry, the relationship makes sense now. She can lower herself to date a dwarf.
So maybe it's the light of the trees prevents that romance from happening.
I'm telling you, it's gotta be.
The two trees, I guess, prevented that, but when they died, and maybe it could have to do with the spiders, because Ungoliant's the ancestor of Shelob, and aren't these spiders Shelob's brood that have kind of, or her descendants that have kind of made their way out into the forest, or are they just like also spiders?
Yeah, it's possible. So
okay. I couldn't remember if that was confirmed anywhere, but
yeah, Shelob makes it a way out of the Akalabeth, basically, and so do these spiders. Whether they're from Shelob or they're descended from another of Ungoliant spawn that came from the Mountains of Terror, we don't know for sure. There's sort of an assumption they are, just because giant spiders are all related. But yeah.
Yeah, but then as we said, the elves they take the dwarves captive, and Thorin is brought to Thranduil, and we learn what Thranduil's what he wants is that he wants there's something in the mountain that he wants, which is I can't really say.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Something like that. Gems that capture starlight. I think.
Yeah, there are diamonds that capture starlight, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
But we learned he also has glamour magic, because he, I guess, was touched by dragonfire, but he puts on a spell to make him look like Lee Pace and not like burned Lee Pace. So,
I mean, if I had the option to look like non-burned Lee Pace, I would probably take versus over burned. Not gonna fault him on that one.
Yeah, but what did y'all think of before we get to the romance that we're all here to talk about? What did y'all think of Thranduil's portrayal in this movie? Just overall, like, because he's just kind of a crazy obsessed, but like you can definitely see that even though they're elves, are of a higher kind of level of being, there, we saw how far Feanor fell, and we see that tendency even in these less noble elves, like these Sindarin elves, because he wants the jewels back too. So is just kind of obsessed with that, and wouldn't help the dwarves before. So he's like you said, Pat, they're more fickle than maybe other elves that if you've read the Silmarillion and other things, they're maybe not as noble as those.
Yeah, he strikes me very much cut from the same cloth as Eöl, Meglin's dad.
Mm-hmm.
If you've listened to the Silmarillion or you read the Silmarillion, Eöl's sort of this dark elf who has this realm in the deep dark forest in the north of the world, and ends up taking the King of Gondolin's sister to wife. And it's towards the beginning of the Silmarillion, and it's setting up Meglin being in Gondolin, which eventually leads to the fall. he very much strikes me as that character sort of brought into the Third Age. He's this dark elf, and dark elf means just silver or has not seen the light of the trees. So, which is why they all like starlight, because that's what they had first. This whole, sun and moon thing, that's for the men. The stars were for the elves. And his sort of insanity is not the right word. Obsession, wayward obsession. It seems like, and touchiness, all very much kind of goes back to that sort of, noble bearing, overly noble bearing. Like, the rest of the world does not concern us. I just care about my own kingdom. Everything else is going to pass around us, and what is outside doesn't matter. Which then sets up the whole reason that the romance ends up happening.
Well, and not only that, but they're clearly doing it with the dramatic effect with Legolas, and how Legolas wants to be with Tauriel all of a sudden. And first of all, Legolas, why is he in the movie? Which actually I actually do appreciate, because theoretically, elves live a very long time, and he theoretically could have been in The Hobbit and just not spoken of. I'll give them that. It could have happened, but I don't, there's the one scene with Legolas with the orc. Of course, this is after a little bit, and you have the king that's questioning him, and then the king just kills the orc. And it was just very much of I guess they're not noble.
The best was the art styling and the attitude went so well together. Because having their Art Nouveau is very different from Rivendell, but still very Art Nouveau, very, I'm fancy, I'm into nature, and I'm into myself. And so it was like watching a living Art Nouveau poster, especially when they panned in on him sitting there first in his little, high throne. But then, it's just kind of fun just to see the play of the styling with the characters and how they really get into it. I have a feeling that for that actor, his costume work and the set design just took him over the top as far as his character development, because he really brought out all of that styling all in one, which was really cool. It made Legolas kind of stick out as odd, because all I kept going back to is like, okay, wait, if these are the elves that get drunk, why did Legolas go, I have a tingly feeling when he was drinking later on? Unless he learned how to hold his liquor, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I take it as...
it's because it's elven alcohol, right?
Yeah, they make it stronger.
Okay.
It's sort of like in Avengers, where Captain America could only feel something when he had alcohol from Asgard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But he reminded me a lot of Lucius Malfoy. Like the king, just very much Lucius Malfoy, but somehow redemptible.
Yeah.
Redeemable?
That's the word.
Okay.
Yeah, but Thranduil tells Thorin what he wants, but Thorin's not going to agree to it because the elves failed to help them before, and he basically banishes them to the dungeon because elves can live forever, so the dwarves can just waste away in there. But but we didn't mention, but Bilbo's still around. He's not been captured, but before he gets free, I think it's time. I think we've been talking about it. Kili and Tauriel. So I thought it would be good, because we've joked about this for a long time, but I don't know that we've really ever given much of an explanation. We've kind of done surface level, I think, but I was thinking it'd be good to figure out, or to talk about why we, for our listeners, why this is not really in line with Tolkien, because we see elves and other races, or really another race, humans, have romances, And why is that okay? And, you know, firstly, elf and human crossings are very rare. I think there's only 3 known cases. I think there's some more that are implied that, you know, actually end up, you know, where elf and a human got married and had a relationship. And that's, you know, the first one was Beren and Luthien, and then Tuor and Idril, and then finally Aragorn and Arwen, were kind of the only ones that have been known. But they are both humans and elves are created children of Iluvatar, and there was a plan for men to be given dominion of Arda, of the world, and their ennoblement came through the Elvish and even the Maiar blood, because Luthien's mom was the Maiar Melian. So they are of a similar kind, but they're not even though they're not the same race, they're of a similar kind. Elves are still immortal, humans still are not. You know, men go beyond the halls of Mandos to the heart of Iluvatar, and, you know, that's their fate is unknown beyond that. Whereas elves, their fate is bound to the world of Arda. And elves also kind of live half in and half out of the world. Whereas dwarves were entirely created in the world, created by the Valar Aule, and they kind of do not experience the unseen and have no way to do that. So they're the children of Iluvatar by adoption, but they're not of the same kind. So I don't know if y'all had any other thoughts on expansions on that, but that's kind of the main reason why it's not really in line with Tolkien, is that they're just of a completely different kind of being, and it just doesn't make sense for them to actually have any kind of a romantic kind of relationship. So I don't know if y'all have any rebuttals or why I'm wrong, but, you know, that's kind of my understanding of this whole thing.
I mean, we all know that all this is thrown in there because they were trying to appeal to the female audience. And, you know, I can say that I'm a woman, right? But I will say this, that taking it out of Tolkien, the relationship was absolutely adorable and very fitting for the type of person she is. So I could say this as well. I was like that in high school, when you're the athletic girl and you're also into geeky stuff and you're really smart. It's really hard to find a date because the athletic guys only go for the really cute girls. And when you're just another athletic girl, you're kind of intimidating to the guys. So I think that what it was is here she has someone who recognizes her for her strength and who she is and not intimidated by it, but was willing to work with it. I mean, right away from the first fight, give me your dagger. She said, I don't need to give you my dagger. It's like, come on. But then he also had the right words to say to her. So he knew any guy who is going out with a strong girl, if you love your mother as much as he pretended to love his mother, if he really did, hey, that works pretty well. So, and not to mention his funny, you know, what did he say right before he tossed up the stone and then dropped it about being careful or something like that? He's not reckless. That's it. He's not reckless. Tosses it up and drops it. Total play to get the girl. He has humor too. So I just have to say that as far as the personalities go and the way that everything was said and the cute conversation, then he listens to her little, I love the starlight, even though he thinks it's cold. And then there you go. The one thing that was funny in all of this was the fact that later on they added in the love triangle. It wasn't supposed to be there. And I was like, really? She just got done with love triangle stuff and Lost, and you got to put it in this movie? But no, I mean, the romance of it was very cute. The only place where it went off the rails for me was later on. I'm going to save him. No, that went weird. Except for the finger holding, but yeah.
Yeah, I almost questioned whether it was like Stockholm and Lima syndrome.
Yeah.
Where just the captive, captor falls in love with the captive, and the captive falls in love with the captor, and
then followed by Nightingale, the syndrome.
Florence Nightingale syndrome, when he's about to die, and he sees a beautiful elf that's saving his life. Yeah.
Oh, she crushed on him the second he said, "Give me your dagger." I'm telling you. Seriously.
See, this is why my wife tells me I'm oblivious at things.
See,
I've been enjoying listening to you guys like totally rag on this. And then I was like, okay, they're going to get a really different perspective this time.
We appreciate it.
I still have real
Come on, Pat, let it out.
So just from a timing perspective, like it's so fast and it makes absolutely no sense for an elf. Like it just, and barely for a dwarf, right? Because they also live a lot longer than men. It makes sense for humans because like everything happens for us in a flash.
And hey, he's about to die.
Whatever. And yeah, that's not till the end of it.
Yeah, he hasn't been shot yet. And
I knew I was going to marry the man who's my husband now the second he walked in the door and I first met him. Just saying.
Right. And you're a human.
Unless there's something you need to tell us.
Yeah, Kathryn, are you hiding?
I have an immortal soul. Hopefully it goes the right way.
But that to me, like that's the real problem in my head is the fast pacedness of the right. It's romantic comedy fast, right? And that doesn't fit in the Tolkien world. Like even the romances between elves and humans, they don't happen overnight. It's years in the making, typically, or at the behest of like great deeds, like stealing a Silmaril from the crown of the devil. It's big time stuff, and so it's honestly a little belittling to those. I think from a lore perspective, just looking at it from that perspective. The other problem I have with it is it didn't need to be a romance. Mm-hmm. This honestly makes a really good friendship story that at some point could blossom into a romance. Maybe still doesn't work in my head, but either way, like if you remove the one line where he asked if she could love him, right, and just replace it with something else, maybe not nearly as sappy, like it's still just this really kind of interesting, touching moment between these two races who are obviously, from what you get from Legolas, are very racist against each other. Legolas literally calling his future best friend an ugly troll baby or whatever.
Or he's calling his wife, "Is this your brother?"
Yeah. It's like what was like a mutant orc baby, and he's like, "That's my son Gimli," and I'm like, that's your future best friend.
Yeah, I think it just goes back to it's not like because I read a lot of other kind of fantasy literature and like watch anime and other animated things, and I like in other worlds there's no issue with characters of various races having romances and getting married and having children. It's just
most of they're all with humans. There's half orcs, there's half elves, humans are always in the mix.
Yeah, a lot of the time, but it's just in Tolkien, it just is very contrary to kind of that worldview that these are two different, it's like a rock and a tree. Like they can maybe be friends, but like they can't do anything. Nothing else makes sense. And because we've seen dwarves have kind of a courtly love of elves, mainly Gimli and Galadriel. But that's kind of the way I kind of think of that is it's like Gimli. It's like us loving the Virgin Mary. Like we can love her and as our mother and as a beautiful figure. but we don't really have romantic feelings in that way. So it makes sense that that a dwarf might find an elf attractive because they're of a higher nobility, you know, they are a higher being, I would say, because they're immortal and they're all very good looking. And it makes sense that they find beauty attractive as a good thing, but it does not make sense really that the elf would return that in that way, at least within Tolkien. So, and yeah, they could have made it a friendship, like similar to Gimli and Legolas, and it could have been like Legolas softening toward dwarves, like, oh, and this elf became friends with a dwarf, and I can have that softening, and then, you know, years later that's kind of how, you know, one kind of crack in his kind of armor of becoming friends with an elf or friends with a dwarf. So I think ultimately it was just a way to pad out these films to try to make it into 3 instead of 2. But they cut out things that they could have kept.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So mind-numbing. I'm like,
So true.
Sorry.
all right.
Sorry. Well, and you needed a female. I mean, you know, the one thing the first movie lacked was a strong female lead, and we really needed somebody. You know, not that I actually like her character quite a bit.
Yeah, I do too.
Even though she's a made up character, right? But honestly, the same way Legolas is there. He wasn't, as far as we know, he may or may not have been there in the book, but he's put there. She's actually I think a well written character. Mm-hmm. Except for that little part.
Yeah, because she wants to find the spiders at their nest and take them out. Like she's fierce and she's cool.
Well, and she's concerned with the whole of Arda, right? She doesn't just care about the one little kingdom and the one little place. And like, you know, the orc basically tells Thranduil, yeah, like Sauron's back, ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
You know, which is why Legolas is like, why did you behead him? He's like, he told me what I needed to know. And Tauriel actually cares that other people are gonna have problems, they're gonna suffer, they're gonna die. It's gonna storm over the woods. Other things matter other than ourselves, and she really embodies the more true nature of what the Eldar are supposed to be, which are the guardians of Arda.
Right, but and then the weird thing is that she's a Sylvan elf when the rest are Sindar elves, which I don't understand how that worked out in Mirkwood.
Yeah, I don't know why they made that distinction in the movie. I really don't. Like, I'm sitting there going, you guys are playing with words you don't understand.
I don't think that word thinks what you think it means.
Right. And I'm like, she's a lowly Sylvan elf. And I'm like, so are you? Like, he's Sindarian. I'm like, that's basically the same thing. Like,
yeah. She's from across the tracks, so she's no good.
Right. That's
she's low class.
Exactly like, she never made it into Balerion. Okay, and you did, and that makes you better. Why?
But yeah, just so we can make sure we have enough time. Let's barrel run down the river.
Into another impossible situation.
Yes,
how do barrels float full of water?
Yeah.
So I appreciate how they did the barrel scene. Otherwise, it just would have been them stuck in barrels going down the river, like getting them out of the barrels halfway. The physics don't make sense in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun, right?
But it was hilarious.
Yeah,
like my daughter laughed through the entire scene.
Yeah, and we even get to see Bomber get his barrel armor. Oh
my gosh!
A little whirling,
which was awesome. And then we but you know what we forgot about is talking about how he was able to run faster than all the rest of the hobbits when he was being chased by the bear.
And they're all looking at him as he's running by him. They're like, "Wait a minute!"
Which actually behind the scenes was absolutely hilarious because him and only Peter Jackson knew he put on his running shoes, and so those reactions were like true reactions of the actors being like, "What in the world is going on?"
That's awesome.
Sorry. Bringing it back to the barrel scene.
Yeah. Well, so if you start singing the Mario song right as Bonker's barrel comes out of the water, all the way to when he turns into the barreling whirling dervish, and then you start it again once Legolas comes on screen, it fits perfectly, like ridiculously perfectly.
Yeah, I haven't YouTubed to see, but I'm sure somebody's made that mashup. And if they haven't, if you want to make it, we would definitely watch it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's and Killy gets, and just to round out the romance scene, he gets shot with the poisoned arrow that Tauriel later has to
Morgul
heal.
arrow, apparently.
Yeah, because Morgul means poison. Like,
Right?
it's not what it means. Sorry.
And yeah, I mean, we go from there just because I want to make sure we get to the things we want to talk about that we like. But, we have Lake Town, and that whole most of that sequence. I mean, so don't get me wrong, Alfred was a hilarious character.
Why is there a proto worm tongue? We have a worm tongue already in Lord of the Rings. We don't need a new one.
But we don't have a comedy worm tongue. Yeah. And I will
this
say,
one has unibrow.
Yeah, having him and then Stephen Fry as the master were both. I mean, it added humor, and I'm not again. Yes. This was padding. They didn't need to add this, but if you're gonna do something ridiculous, like at least have Stephen Fry be in it, because I thought did at least for what it was pretty entertaining. Now it was goofy and completely added and was not part of anything in the book, but of having this master lording over Lake Town and trying to extort the citizens, and from what I remember, that's barely in the book. Like, they go to Lake Town and they re-equip their stuff, and then they go off to Erebor.
All of them, yes.
Yeah, all of them.
Bard really isn't.
They're not hiding in toilets. They're not.
Yeah. They make Bard this main character, right? He's basically the main character for a third of the movie, and because the more you think about it, like, Bilbo is sort of a minor character, except for the scenes in Mirkwood. He sort of takes back seat until you get to the mountain. And especially in Lake Town, he's just sort of window dressing. Like, it is primarily about Bard and his relationship with the Master and Alfred and the people of Lake Town and what they want to do. And it really is, to me, I think, just set up for the Battle of Five Armies, right? And they want to overly sensationalize Bard's taking down of the dragon, right? Because in the books he does it with a bow and a special arrow. It is still a special arrow, but it's not like it is in the next movie. And I get that. Like, I get that desire. Like, you want to make it super grandiose. And in a lot of ways, it's funny, Tolkien is seen as like one of the main fantasy writers for all time, but he subverts expectations pretty dramatically in both Lord of the Rings, where the hero doesn't actually win. Gollum bites the finger off, and spoilers, sorry. And in this one, where the dragon doesn't get killed by the heroes, right? It's some other dude who you only. It was
Gaston. I mean,
exactly.
Bard. You're not wrong.
One shoots dragons like Gaston. No one but like Gaston. Yeah.
He's roughly as big as a barge. He's a bargeman.
He's a bargeman. There you go.
I think this was a whole cloth filler, interesting setup for the next movie. Stephen Fry's probably the shining point of this. I agree.
I think they had to invest all the time in Lake Town because they invested a lot of time in the set design, which was incredible. It's been fun going through and looking to see people's comments on it. A few architectural articles I read actually had the Lake Town styling wrong and thought it was, some like English Tudor style or something. But the little dragon heads that are on the roof lines really point to it is very much medieval Norwegian. And if you get a chance to look at some like of the wooden church designs in that time period. It's Lake Town. The thing that's hilarious about Lake Town is, it obviously feels like a refugee town, because of what happened in Dale. But it's like, okay, you went and built out over the water to try to protect yourself from dragon fire, right? But everything's made out of wood.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
Still gonna burn.
Yeah. I think ultimately, again, it's just padding to try to make 3 movies. And so, but then I think we get to, I think what does really work in this movie, and that's the getting into Erebor and Bilbo's, waking Smaug up. And then of course they added scenes, I think of trying to stop Smaug in the mountain. But I think that was all done pretty well and made sense compared to other things in this movie. But what did y'all think of, I think one of the highlights of the movie is the portrayal of Bilbo's actual conversation with Smaug, which we got to hear a rendition of at the top of the podcast. But what did y'all think of just the whole Erebor sequence, and this chat with Smaug and all of that?
So in the books, they actually go fully into the mountain at one point, and Smaug comes out to try to find them and kill them on the mountain, not go out to destroy Lake Town. It was, he's trying to find and kill the dwarves, and since he couldn't find it, then he's going to go out to destroy Lake Town.
Right.
And it was, I wish they would have done a little bit more with that, but I think apart from that, and apart from there was talking birds at one point, I swear, in the book.
That's the thrush tells Bard of the weakness in Smaug's armor.
Right. Yeah.
And I think the dwarves talk to ravens or something along those lines.
Yes. Yeah. So apart from those 2 things, the rest of it, I think, was just absolutely perfect. It was absolutely wonderful and spot on. And Benedict Cumberbatch did an amazing job with being Smaug. A lot better than he did the Necromancer, I would say. he did a good job with that too, but it was just, Smaug was just on point.
I gotta ask, did you guys like the fact that the last light of Durin's day was the moon and not the sun?
Yeah, I did. What I didn't like was the dwarves like giving up and leaving.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? This is like the most stubborn race of beings ever created, and they're just gonna, well, that's it. Like, no, they would be like, all right, let's make camp. We're gonna be here for a year. You gotta make it to the next Durin's day. So that was kind of hokey. But I actually did like it being the moon. I mean, I know it's a callback kind of to the moon runes and
yeah, I think it made sense because of the moon runes.
Yeah.
Try to say that word 5 times fast.
It was a rather large crest for how quickly it followed the sunset, but it was okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You like when the moon was just like waiting right there.
It's because it's Durin's day.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mire of the moon was pulling hard that day to get get the moon up. I think it's
one
a mire
of my
of the moon.
Favorite visuals was when Thorin says, "I'm not my grandfather," and he's standing perfectly in line, silhouette with the statue. That was awesome. I was like, "Yeah, he is." That nose matches perfectly.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the idea of like building the gold statue. I mean, that's completely not in the book, but building the gold statue to kind of fight Smaug, and he's getting covered in this gold, and they think they've won. And when I don't remember when I first watched this movie, but I remember watching this part and being like, "Oh, awesome!" And then he flies out, and then the movie ends, and you're like, "Are you kidding me?" and like, it was hilarious because my son, as soon as the movie ended, goes, "That's it."
Yeah, there's no desolation in this movie.
Yes, there is. The desolation is Dale. They said it just like in the books and the other movies.
I'm making fun of it, Kathryn. Come on, give me work with me here.
Yeah. What's that? It's Dale. Desolation.
Well, I think the desolation of Smaug was gilding him.
Yeah.
I was not into the gilding scene. Are you kidding me? Like you said earlier, Rob, I would have rather had him do the fly out and around to try to get them, where I think Bombard and a couple others were stuck down below because they couldn't climb up. Mm-hmm. And the whole stress of half of them are in the mountain, half of them are down below. And it was like, oh no, what are we going to do? They're going to die. But
was it because I know it was Bomber, Oin, Killy, and Philly that stayed behind in Lake Town, right?
It was Boffer.
Boffer.
Yeah. And so the 4 stayed behind. Was it those 4 in the book that were down below? Because it was a guard post that they were at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought they stayed down because Bombard couldn't make the climb.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Well, I think they wanted to leave somebody with the ponies. And the ponies ended up...
Oh yeah, because they had to actually pull them up. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, I remember thinking, okay, you just gilded a dragon. That's just more armor for him. That's a problem. But he shed it all off. So
yeah.
I really loved Erebor. The visuals, the halls, the mines, even though the physics doesn't work, the armory, the forges, like
so lighting the forges back on fire.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
it was cool. It was really cool to see it done.
Yes. So that was fun. That was a lot of fun. It's funny when they started wandering around, and they're all in there and they're trying to get away from the dragon and into the Western Guard Tower, and they're showing sort of the scope and scale of it. My daughter was like, "That's the halls of Mandos," and I'm like, you're probably not wrong. They probably look pretty similar, just filled with people instead of gold.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was cool because it does, because if you've only seen the movies, if you haven't seen Lord of the Rings and then see this, like, it's like what Moria would have been at its peak, and until we get Rings of Power and we see kind of a version of that, but it's even kind of more grandiose, and there's more wealth and more, there's gold everywhere, mountains of gold and gems and everything. So it was really cool kind of seeing that, this is what the height of a dwarven kingdom would look like. So yeah, I think that it was all done really well. And
they went hard, industrial art deco for the design work. It was awesome. I mean, it was like Detroit, the Motor City in its heyday. I loved it. It was great. I mean, the styling for the statues, the forges, almost a slight steampunk feel to it. But yeah, gave it great art deco industrial. It was sweet.
Yeah, I like when they pour the gold pours onto Smaug, and he's in that like lake of molten gold, and my daughter's like, "What happened to Bilbo?" And I'm like, "Well, he's dead." She's like, "What?" I'm like, "No." But it is kind of like, how did he get away from that? Because that was a lot of gold.
Yeah.
It took me 3 showings to see the edge that contained the gold and Bilbo being on the other side of this little half wall. I was like, what? I was like, thought he was under the gold. But no, it was really cool though. I was trying to figure out how in the world Thorin was able to ride on the molten gold in that tin wheelbarrow without burning his hands.
He's a dwarf.
Because physics don't work in Lord of the Rings properties.
The dwarves have tough skin. They're fine. How can hobbits have tough feet?
Or it was just mithril.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
From the lightning strike.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, as we kind of, and then of course it ends with with Smaug flying off out of the mountain to go desolate Lake Town, because he realizes that that's where Bilbo and the dwarves came from, and he's going to go punish them. So,
yep.
And we'll have to wait to see what happens for the next movie.
Dun dun dun.
So as we wrap up, just overall kind of final verdict. Excuse me. Final verdict. Do you enjoy the movie? Aside from the issues we've discussed, do you enjoy watching it, or do you at least enjoy like the quote unquote canonical scenes? So just kind of really any and then just any other brief wrap up thoughts that y'all have. I'll start with you, Kathryn.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. I've watched it twice in the last week, just because I mean, it's visually stunning. They nailed Smaug's look. Beautiful. When he poses for Bilbo. Yes. Like that's Smaug. That was awesome. Or when Thorin's standing on his nose. Oh, that was a great scene. I was like, yes, that was sweet.
What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I would have to say I do enjoy even the quasi-canonical scenes. It's actually a good movie, as much as we rag on it.
And what about you, Pat?
Yeah, I won't say it's a good movie, but I will say it's enjoyable. I do enjoy watching it. I think so far, I think we've been very fortunate in all the media we've had has been stunning, right? Whether it was Peter Jackson or it's been the Rings of Power or the War of the Rohirrim, whatever we've gotten, they've done the details visually and audibly well, right? The music is fantastic as well. So I never have a problem with any of that stuff. And one thing we didn't touch on, but the conversation between Bilbo and Smaug is so well done. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you guys, but I'm on edge for the entire thing because I am just like, he's going to kill Bilbo at any second now. Like it's just going to, and I know he's obviously Bilbo can't die. He has plot armor. But, they do such a good job of building the tension and keeping, I think keeping the audience on edge. So yeah, definitely an enjoyable film.
Yeah, and I'll agree. I do have fun watching it. Despite the silliness at times. The canonical scenes, I think are all done for the most part pretty well. And then some of the added stuff like Gandalf's kind of side quest that we get to see. Like I think that's in this movie that part's done I think pretty well. And one thing I meant to bring up earlier is we actually get to see Sauron speaking. We hadn't seen that in the Lord of the Rings really. I think there's a couple scenes where he's kind of like speaking in like, where are you? I see. Like you can kind of hear a little tiny bit of like background Sauron speaking, but this was like actual conversations, which of course now in Rings of Power, we get to see Sauron talking all the time. So
quick question.
Yes.
Did you guys feel like Gandalf fighting him actually made him stronger? Like they wanted Gandalf to break the hiding spell to help him come out more and make him stronger. It was weird. A couple times when I was watching it, I felt like, whoa, Gandalf, you're the one who strengthened him. Like, I don't know.
I think if anything, it was more of just a kind of like a mind over matter sort of thing where he was able to defeat Gandalf. So he bolsters, he gained that much more experience points. Like, I don't necessarily think that it was they were trying to defeat Gandalf to make people stronger, but it was very much it was a trap for a reason. And they were trying to lure people there to destroy them one by one instead of having the whole White Council.
Because it sounded like Azog was like, yes, we want him to say that spell. We want him to. It was like really weird.
Oh, I know. Okay, that's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah, it's like they want Gandalf to say that particular spell because they know it'll make Sauron stronger.
So he's going to drain the life force from Gandalf, and somehow Sauron returned.
There's an idea.
Yes.
Or it could be just the idea of like, this is go time. Like once this happens, it's go time. We can actually act now instead of hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's all out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, but overall I do enjoy the movie, and yeah, I think I probably like it the second out of the three. I think the last one, it has some good moments, but it's just, yeah, I feel like they over CG'd it because that was the new thing. And like, that's why Lord of the Rings movies hold up, the battles and stuff. I think they did a lot of CG in the last movie, and it just doesn't hold up as well over time. And a lot of it is the battles. So if you're going to do a battle, like you need to make it look, and I mean, at the time I'm not saying it looks bad. It's just, it definitely takes me out of it more than like Lord of the Rings, which did a lot practically. So, but all right. Well, we do have some feedback before we close out. So just read these real quick. So on our final Silmarillion episode, we had Tammy, our friend, say Doom in 3-part harmony. Great show, guys. I can't believe the Silmarillion is over. Something I was thinking of when y'all were talking about Isildur is that he always struck me as something of a Davidic figure. He was a hero and a great king, but fell to pride. Also, Aragorn being a Christ-like figure descended from Isildur, just as Jesus is descended from David. Both royal lines dwindled into obscurity, but ultimately won out. And something else I thought of, though I know Tolkien didn't intend a direct allegory with these things, the loss of Arnor and dwindling of Gondor also resembles a bit of what happened to Israel and Judah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then on our animated Lord of the Rings episode, we had our Eldir said, and the award for the most last second reference to a forbidden romance goes to Rob Leonardi won again. So
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And he continues, this is an age-old argument, but one of my favorite things about this movie is that it's different. The Peter Jackson movies may have more or less solidified how these characters appear in the modern imagination, and that's kind of a detriment. Fan art, illustrations, imaginations, all of it is now filtered through that lens. Lately, one of my favorite things to do is to check out pre-2000s Lord of the Rings art, because all they really had was the books for the reference. So you get these incredible varied imaginings of characters. Sure, sometimes it's Aragorn, but sometimes it's the wild variants of Gollum, who is just all over the map. And I like the creativity on display, even if my own kit is clearly lifted from the movies. And he's talking about if you're on our Discord, Eldir does a lot of cosplay as a ranger of Gondor. So if you want to see some pictures, join our Discord, which I'll talk about here in a minute. And then our last bit of feedback I have included is Sean MCC, and all of these are from our Discord. So again, great place to talk and leave comments for us. He says, I was about 12 or 13 when this movie came out, and it blew me away. And I really wanted another movie to finish the story. This movie and the Brothers Hildebrandt calendars defined what Lord of the Rings looked like outside of my own imagination from reading the books first. I'm glad I read the books before seeing any film adaptations or professional or fan art. So thanks everyone for your feedback, and keep it coming. And I think that'll do it though for this episode of The Secrets of Middle-earth. We'd like to take a moment to thank all of our patrons who make this show possible, including NR, AJ, Gianna D, Cindy D, and Christopher K. Their generous donations help us to continue to create The Secrets of Middle-earth and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them at givestarquest.com. And be sure to follow The Secrets of Middle-earth in Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, or any podcast directory or app. And you can find us on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or on X, where we are at SQPN, or on Instagram, where we are at StarQuest Network. And don't forget, you can get your own official Secrets of Middle-earth merch, including our awesome t-shirt, at SQPN.com/merch. It's a great way for you to support the show and show your love for Tolkien and his wonderful world of Middle-earth. And if you don't know, it's a picture of Killy and Tauriel in a romantic scene. No, I'm joking. It's the it's the Hail Mary and in the
drawing
Tingwar
that.
script with a picture of all the races of Middle Earth. So
Please, no one make that for us.
it's too late.
Too late for you now.
Someone's put it into Chat GPT and it's coming. All right. So now we'd love to hear from you, our listeners. What do you think about the Desolation of Smaug and the elf dwarf romance? You can let us know on
death till they part.
Spoiler alert.
Bye, Rob.
Well, and you can let us know on our Facebook page or on Twitter, or by sending an email to middleearth@sqpn.com, by leaving us a comment on YouTube or on Spotify, or by visiting our channel on the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/discord. So join us next time for our discussion of the Battle of the Five Armies and the conclusion of the elf and dwarf romance. That's our last reference that I have in here. So until then, thank you, Kathryn Laffrey, for joining us and sharing the secrets of Middle Earth.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
And Patrick Mason, thank you as well.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me on.
And Rob Leonardi, thanks you too.
Thank you very much.
And I'm Jeff Haecker. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Middle Earth on StarQuest.
Here's another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy, The Secrets of Star Trek. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Star Trek.